Newcastle United training sessions often draw the competitor out of those taking part, but today players could also flush out the last of Friday night's frustration. Leading by 2, Newcastle gave up 3 goals in quick time to be rolled by Adelaide United.
It was a really frustrating thing. We all just stopped, and it was just something that was very uncharacteristic.
Beginning the season off the bench, Ryan Griffiths has made the most of his opportunity to start with another strong performance against Adelaide. Setting up the first goal, he started and finished the second. But when you live with a few teammates and brother Adam, it's easy to keep perspective.
As much as you don't like to take your brother's advice, it really is handy. And also I'm living with Tom, who's very critical. We're all critical of each other, and we just tell it how it is. So it's good for each other, yeah.
Tom Willis leaves for the United Arab Emirates on Saturday night for the Young Socceroos World Cup campaign, along with Jobe Wheelhouse, making them unavailable to play against Brisbane. It makes the recovery of experienced midfielder Milan Blagojevic even more important. However, the team will regain Peter Sakanis from suspension.
The body of childcare worker Judith Brown was discovered at her Anna Bay home on the 2nd of June 2000. It's believed she died of massive head injuries, most likely inflicted by a heavy blunt object believed to be a concrete cast doorstop. Her husband, ex-miner Ross Ernest Brown, is charged with her murder. His Supreme Court trial beginning in Newcastle today. In his opening address, prosecutor Wayne Creasy outlined the Crown's case, saying it was based on circumstantial evidence as no one saw the accused attack his wife. In reply, Defence Counsel Carolyn Davenport stated there was not one piece of direct evidence to link Ross Brown to the killing. As part of the Crown case, the jury was shown a video taken by forensic police of the inside of the house and the body of the victim, Judith Brown. The father of 3 has pleaded not guilty to the murder charge. The trial is expected to continue for the next 4 weeks. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
County Tyrone remains stable in Melbourne ahead of the world-famous 2-mile event, but trainer Chris Lees afforded himself a quick trip home before Australia's biggest race day. Finishing third in the 2,500-metre Gold Cup at Moonee Valley on Saturday, qualified the Danewen gelding for his second successive start in the race that stops a nation.
By far his best run this time in, and it's up to his right distance, and he just kept wearing away at him, and I think he'll improve on that run. He pulled up really well. He lost a little bit of weight, but he's put it back on within 2 days, so I'm really happy with him.
Weighted 4 kilos lighter for the 3,200-metre journey will help, but good barrier or not, County is still only a rough chance given the quality field. The stayer, though, will forever hold a special place in the Lees family, with County Tyrone just the second Cup runner Chris's late father Max prepared.
For sure, it's his last Group 1 winner, and we picked the horse out together as a yearling, and so yeah, there is, but just got to keep our act together and get on with it.
Bearing the scars of battle from the last race on the Gold Coast, this BMW M Coupe was heading for immediate repairs in Sydney today. Another one just like it makes up Wayne Russell's global racing team that will tackle the Bathurst 24-hour race on November 21.
It would be up there as one of the best races in the world. What it does now is it puts Bathurst and Australia on the map as far as the world's greatest races. You've got Le Mans, you've got Spa, you've got Nürburgring, and now you've got Bathurst.
An older Model 3 Series BMW, we can test the 2-hour event, but it's the main race that Russell has been planning for all year. And few stones are being left unturned, with 32 staff on his books, including 8 drivers, one of whom is number 1.
One car, we've got Mark King, who's just won the Australian Championship, and he's got an Evo 7, and he's decided that he doesn't believe the Evo 7 turbo cars are the way to go for our category, so he's signed with us.
Contesting the GT Performance class, the Coupes will race against other high-performance production cars that feature almost no modifications, save for safety measures.
We're going for the win. The cars are capable. We've proven that. I mean, at Indy, we were the fastest car on the track. We've come 5th in the Australian Championship in our first year with that particular car.
15 foreign teams are heading down under for the event, looking to go better than last year, where some high-profile machines got way out of shape. The Monaro came through with the goods overall in a real test of power, speed and mostly endurance. You couldn't blame the elation in the Pirates team on full time. Chris Harriman stood higher than most, but everyone was brought back to earth today.
It was nice last night, but you got to move on.
The team stretching out the soreness in time for the Melbourne Tigers on Saturday night, but like the celebrations, Chris Brown was on ice today, while Matt Shanahan required an injection to assist a foot problem.
Everyone's high on confidence, and that's, the game on Saturday is definitely one I don't want to miss.
The pain seemed a world away last night when he helped the home side to an historic win, and while his shots were limited, they were pinpoint. Former 36er star Kevin Brooks led the scoring for the Pirates, dropping in 24. Geordie Cullen enjoyed his room under the bucket, while the Wookie Michael Kingma hooked in 18 points. It was his defence, though, that was crucial in the dying minutes. The Pirates' night, 103-99.
We know what it takes to win, and yeah, as I said, hopefully it propels us onto more things.
Just what's happening with Cameron Rigby remains unclear. Sacked on Tuesday, the power forward was at training today. The club confirmed he's cut, but will allow him an opportunity to fight for a spot. The coach thoughts haven't changed.
We can't define what the injury is. He's now said as of yesterday that he's good to go in a week. He won't be. There's no way.
Palmer still has his eye on another point guard to fill the spot, and homegrown product Josh Morgan seems the man most likely. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
The drama unfolded at this Strait home at around 6 a.m. It's believed 3 males forced their way into the back flat of the house. A neighbour heard the noise and went to investigate.
Got a fist up against my throat with a gun to my temple. In amongst all that, and there was a bit of pushing and shoving, and I got put through a window. The 3 fellas ended up running out the door.
The male occupant of the house and the neighbour pursued them.
They'd stopped in the middle of the road and pulled their gun out again and started firing. They fired 3 bullets at me and 3 at the other fella.
One of the bullets hit a nearby home.
We are interested in any person who might have seen a white car similar to a Ford Festiva parked at the intersection of Industrial Drive and Crebit Street at about 5:15 a.m. this morning. It contains 3 male occupants.
Police have released these images of the suspects seen here running through a nearby service station. The first suspect is believed to be 180 centimetres tall, of medium build with strawberry blonde hair. The two others are both described as being 160 centimetres tall, of slim build, and are both aged around 16. One is believed to be of Aboriginal appearance. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News. Gusty winds which sprang up this afternoon fanned the blaze, sending smoke billowing into the sky. The fire broke containment lines, sending it close to houses in Barry Close off Cabbage Tree Road. Waterbombing helicopters went to work dousing the fire front.
Unfortunately, the area in which the fire broke its containment lines isn't all that heavily fuelled, so there's certainly cause for considerable optimism.
However, light rain helped firefighters in their efforts. Late this afternoon, the crews had the fire under control and were putting in new containment lines. The real cost of the blaze is coming to light, with dozens of charred animal carcasses being found.
And they were just trapped in so many pockets out there, and of course it's prime koala habitat, and it's gone through quite many miles of prime koala habitat.
This female koala is one of the few lucky ones found alive by wildlife rescue volunteers. She's been badly burnt, but it's likely she'll make a full recovery. However, she'll be in care for at least 2 to 3 months. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Like all things Virgin Blue, even its late arrival was fashionable, with a distinctive red 737 touching down at Williamtown just before midday, effectively breaking the Newcastle to Melbourne monopoly.
Nearly 2.5 hours with Qantas. We're 1 hour and 6 minutes with Virgin.
The tourism industry will be among the big winners, with an estimated 85,000 extra passengers to pass through Newcastle Airport per year.
I think the airport will cope very, very well. It's designed to accommodate about 350 passengers an hour. The new Virgin Blue service is clearly within that. The sort of things we might have to have a look at, though, are car park, but in the longer term perhaps.
For now, Virgin Blue will operate just the one daily flight compared to Qantas's 4, but it's the lower price and less travelling time that sold commuters.
Competitively priced at short notice. It was, it's come in handy down for the rugby.
I just want to be a part of history, I suppose, yeah.
Don't have to go to Sydney. It's a bonus and it's great.
Virgin Blue says this new service is just the tip of the iceberg, with a direct flight to Brisbane on the cards, depending on how the Hunter receives this new venture.
We will wait and see how the demand is and how support is for this particular Melbourne-Newcastle flight, and then look at increasing both the frequencies on Melbourne-Newcastle as well as the destinations out of Newcastle.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News. It couldn't have come at a worse time for the former New South Wales rep, who is still getting over a knee operation. Hughes says he expects to resume training by the end of this month. However, it will be a longer wait on the sideline for teammate Craig Hall, off for 10 weeks while he recovers from surgery on his left knee.
This site at Charlestown is slowly being transformed into a $46 million development known as the Alto Apartments. There's 109 apartments being built, 90 have already sold, and if you have a spare $1 million, you'll soon be able to snap up a penthouse.
Well, we're just about to, in a few weeks' time, release the penthouse level to the market. There'll be 7 very luxuriously appointed penthouses available.
The 10-storey complex should be completed by November next year, and the apartments are expected to encourage further development in the suburb. It comes as nearby Charlestown Square continues with its plans to expand the region's largest shopping centre. Meanwhile, the Matara Hotel is trying to capitalise on the potential growth of the area. It's undergone a dramatic facelift, hoping to attract more clientele, especially business people and families.
The Matara's been a sleeping giant for a number of years, and we're looking forward to being able to cater for a lot of people.
Once the refurbishment is finished by the end of this month, the hotel will cater for more than 300 diners. But these fish needn't worry. They're definitely not on the menu. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
When a 30-tonne truck thunders down the highway, its performance and handling are crucial for everyone's safety. Engineer Bruce Gatkins decided 20 years ago that shocks built overseas weren't any good in Australia.
Australian requirements are far different to European and North American, and therefore we've had to design our equipment to sustain vehicles in the hot, dry climate of Australia and not the cold climate of the Northern Hemisphere.
From small beginnings in a shed at Cardiff, Bruce now employs 26 workers at his new warehouse in Beresfield, where he manufactures 50,000 shocks a year, turning over $7 million. And what does a shock absorber actually do?
A shock absorber is actually a spring damper, and inside it there is oil. And as the oil is siphoned through the various valves, it converts mechanical energy of the spring into heat energy by the oil getting hotter, and the heat is then dissipated into the atmosphere by the sides of the shock absorber. And that's why your spring doesn't bounce up and down all the time after you've hit a bump.
Bruce's Aussie shocks are also exported to 8 countries. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Senior Constable Michael Sorby awarded a Commissioner's Commendation for his arrest of a gunman at Whitebridge. It happened more than 4 years ago, but the memories are still clear and painful.
I relive it quite often.
Senior Constable Sorby's partner was injured when the offender opened fire. They returned shots and disarmed the gunman. Today, with his children by his side, the Senior Constable says he's proud of being recognised for a job he's loved, but admits it's a bittersweet feeling.
It's very draining, and it also can affect the whole family, something like that, because it does change a person.
Having now been awarded twice for his actions in the face of danger, Senior Constable Sorby has decided to quit to focus on other things.
Enjoy my family.
The award was among dozens presented to local police today, another prestigious honour going to Police Rescue Sergeant Alan Woodhams and Senior Constable Craig Bryan for their bravery in pulling survivors from a building collapse on the old BHP site. Natasha Bayersdorf, NBN News.
And it'll be from such a tremendous height that there's only a couple of people that have lived from that height falling into water, because when you fall at that height, it's like hitting pavement.
He's not quite just up to that top grade. You know, he's more than competitive in Sydney and Brisbane Cups. He ran second in both of them races, but Melbourne Cups is the next level up, and he's just a little bit below that, but he didn't disgrace himself by any means. My dad trained for 30 years and had 2 runners ever. I don't know, there would only been a handful of horses to race out of Newcastle in the Melbourne Cup ever, so, you know, they don't come along very often.
That was the idea, yeah, at the start of the plans of making the tour, of making Newcastle the last one, and also just the Civic Theatre is such an awesome venue, so to finish on something like that was great.
After a week off, it's again business as usual at United, the effect of the buy yet to be seen.
I think it came at a good time for us in terms of being able to get another couple of weeks, i.e. under his belt, training.
Him being Craig Deans, a welcome addition to the squad, enjoying a quicker than expected recovery after a cartilage implant in his right knee. After some minor appearances in the youth team, he'll play 90 minutes of soccer this Friday night against highly rated Sydney United if all goes to plan.
I think the worst thing we can do is go into this, either of us thinking, well, it's going to be 40 minutes, it's going to be 60 minutes.
Like I said, it's been 18 months since I played a game, so I'm not too nervous now. Maybe when I get to the ground on Friday, I'll sort of sink in that I'm playing again.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
Thieves raided Australian fleet sails, stealing an XR6 Ford Falcon, an SS Commodore and a Holden Calais from the Cardiff car yard. They also stole side blinker lenses from 19 Series 2 Commodores and the keys to all the vehicles on the lot.
The truck was a twisted wreck when rescue workers arrived at the Mitchell Line Road near the Singleton Army Base today. Amazingly, the driver escaped serious injury when his vehicle rolled, spilling its load of steel girders. Traffic was held up for some time while the crew of the region's Westpac rescue helicopter stabilised the man and prepared him for flight. Meantime, rescue helicopter pilots are getting used to a new approach to the John Hunter Hospital. The new landing zone replaces the old pad, which will soon be built on as part of extensions to the hospital.
This part has been worth about $650,000 and we've made the move. The new building that we're constructing, the new $100 million James Wallace building, is actually going to be constructed on the existing helipad.
The pad is one of the busiest in Australia, catering for Westpac, Child Flight, Care Flight, the RAF and Polair.
It's larger, can accommodate 2 aircraft very easily, and it's not down on the dip like the old one was.
And the hospital says it has procedures in place to minimise the risk to patients who now have to be pushed across the busy main road into the hospital. Paul Lobb, NBN News. There's only one thing that Anne Gilligan loves more than being around boats, and that's painting them. A regular voyager around Lake Macquarie and the Hawkesbury, Anne captures glimpses of the sailing lifestyle.
The peace and the tranquility and the ever-changing skies and seas and oceans. I just love looking at that.
From a secluded anchorage where yachts raft up and their owners relax, to the thrill of tight sails and racing under a stormy sky, Anne's oil paintings appeal to the spirit.
It's getting away from it all. And I figure if I can get away, then other people should get away too.
Her new exhibition, which includes a couple of landscapes, opens on Friday night at Cooks Hill Galleries. Meantime, works of a different type have been completed by Shortland artist Sharon Davson, who's painted 3 cows for a cow parade in Victoria. The fiberglass beasts will be auctioned off in Shepparton to raise money for sick children. When several large boulders crashed down into the bogey hole in September, Newcastle Council began a survey of the cliff face. Now work is underway that involves removing the unstable top section of the ridge.
It's the same issue we face at several other places along the coastline, where the layering of the different sorts of stone such that the top layers become unstable, and in this particular location that's some fairly massive sandstone up there that's been falling out in an uncontrolled way.
The spoil is being trucked to the basin area of the park to make a constructed wetland.
So we're using the fill to construct that wetland, and we'll move on to some planting and whatnot. So we'll be doing some stormwater control through there.
And the fate of Shortland Esplanade is still up in the air, with the road closed and this 20-tonne boulder remaining where it fell over a year ago.
We've got some engineers working for us who've been doing a lot of cliff stabilisation work for the RTA, and their brief is to give us some options that we can look at to get it reopened for pedestrians as soon as possible.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
John Sutherland and Simon Davidson have become very attached to their motorbikes after their round-the-world trip raising money for children's charity UNICEF.
Travelled through 23 different countries, through Africa, Europe, Asia, India and Australasia as well, covering about 50,000 kilometres in total.
The firm friends spent the night in Newcastle before heading off to Sydney today, where they officially finished their adventure. And while they both say they've had a blast, what they're most proud of is all the pledges they've received.
Somewhere between £10,000 and £20,000 would be a good figure. There's no fixed amount on it, and as yet we've no idea how much we've raised because it's all in pledges. So hopefully this money will start rolling in once we cross the finishing line this lunchtime.
Dr. Rosemary Sheether was still coming to terms with being named GP of the Year today, but she happily showed off her award, a handcrafted glass bowl. Her family couldn't be more proud.
I mean, something everyone would like to win, but you don't really think that you will. And other people who won the awards, I felt had done much more spectacular things than I had.
Dr. Sheether can be described as a pioneer. When she first started out in medicine in 1952, men dominated the profession. But this didn't deter her. She went into general practice and spent the majority of her career in Gresford. Dr. Sheether says she's seen many changes in the medical profession.
Fear of litigation makes people practice much more defensively. It's probably costing the community more because they perhaps do more investigations than they might have done in the past, because you're frightened if you miss something, you could be sued for it.
Meanwhile, one of the best-known names in Australian winemaking, Bruce Tyrrell, has been recognised for his business expertise. Bruce has been honoured by the Hunter Business Chamber and named as the Business Person of the Year. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Save Our Rail group claims the majority of people living in Newcastle want the rail line to stay.
This is from the campaigning work that we've been doing, talking to thousands and thousands of people. 80% of the Newcastle population supports retention of this rail line.
But the statistics didn't stack up this morning when a mere handful of people caught the train to Sydney to take their message to the state government.
What the Greens believe the plans are is to do a deal with the developers.
The group also demonstrated its opposition to planned cuts to CountryLink services. Meanwhile, the Lower Hunter Transport Group is due to hand down its recommendations on the future of transport services by the end of this year. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News. This land south of Caves Beach has been earmarked for development for the last 15 years. Now the North Wallara Peninsula Master Plan has been approved. It sets a framework for future development. The first noticeable changes will be the construction of an interchange from the Pacific Highway. The developers Lensworth say they have already submitted an application to the RTA. They also hope to subdivide land near Lake Macquarie first. Eventually, the 605 hectares will include a national park and be home to 5,000 people.
The increased population in that area will provide a greater economic base for the commercial centre at Swansea. That'll firm up those businesses, help shore up jobs in Swansea.
The developers say land near the lake won't be for sale until mid-2005. Meanwhile, council has again been challenged in the Land and Environment Court over its draft local environment plan. This time, owners of this blacksmith site wanted to build a duplex. Council refused because its draft plan doesn't permit dual occupancy. However, the court upheld the owner's appeal.
It's good that the court provides some clear guidance as to how this draft LEP is to be used in the assessment process. I think that it would be reasonable to assume that the council will be the subject of a few more appeals.
Council says it will consider appealing the court's decision. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
you got to think it through and just tell yourself that, yeah, you can make it to the top and forget the pain and just, yeah, hold on.
Hold on could well be the mantra of every rock climber. It at least should be. It's not only the rush that attracts people to the sport, but also the mental and physical challenge in places so beautiful yet rarely seen. And unlike many other regions around the country, the Hunter has been lacking a guidebook for climbers until now.
A book is the ideal tool for the job. Like, if you don't have the book, it almost makes it impossible to go out and know where all the cliffs are and how to find your way around and navigate the right grades and that sort of things.
Timothy Hasnut researched and wrote the book over 2 years, checking out every cliff in its pages. And he says the Hunter offers something for climbers of every level.
There's a lot of easy climbing in the Wadigan, so if you're just starting out in the area, the Newcastle's a really good place to start out. But there's also advanced climbing up in Port Stephens and Bulahdelah.
And even though there's plenty of places to explore, Tim has purposely left a few out of the book, maybe as a challenge to the adventurous at heart.
Yeah, there is a couple of spots in Port Stephens that a little bit of controversy, but I think every book needs a little bit of controversy in it, so everyone's happy now.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
After a day of legal toing and froing, the club confirmed late today it's released Bruce Palmer from his contract. With just one win from 11 starts, the club made its play, sacking Palmer along with his assistant Rick Castle. Handed the reins for the club in its debut year, it's hardly been smooth sailing for Palmer. After a delayed start to player shopping, a squad of limited depth suffered the loss of captain Brendan Mann along with two other key players, while another was cut in late October. Due to legal complications, neither Palmer nor the club would speak today, with announcements to be made tomorrow. But today's training confirmed the coaching staff will be headed up by former Newcastle player Dave Simmons, while Tim Mallon will stay on in a shared coaching role. The Pirates host the other struggling first-season club, the New Zealand Breakers, on Friday night. Ironically, they sacked their coach last week.
There were tense moments at today's stop work meeting as two of the Hungarian workers were verbally roughed up.
It's no good, mate. It's taking the Australian people's jobs, our jobs. I've been there a long time, and so has a lot of people here that work casual and permanent, and they're taking our employment off us.
And I don't really see why they should be brought in and have a job over me.
Forjax has reportedly sponsored the immigrants, telling the federal government there's a lack of skilled workers locally. The union says the Hungarians have been given a level of job security far beyond the local workforce.
The contract that we've seen with the Immigration Department says that these people have got 4 years guaranteed work.
While their workmates strike, the foreign workers simply want to get on with the job.
Do you feel like you're in a difficult position?
No, not really, because it has nothing to do with us. It's none of our fault. We do our best. We have no problems with the workers here.
The workers voted to strike again on Monday, and Forjax would not comment today. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
We've had 2 confirmed sightings of sharks in the bay here between the fish co-op and the bridge. With the oncoming summer and the school holidays, we're a little bit concerned with the number of kids that swim in the area. Something's likely to happen, which no one will be too happy about.
With the last 2 rounds of the Australian Kitesurfing League Tour affected by poor winds, organisers can ill afford another still weekend. Winning the opening round is one of several tournament victories for Lake Macquarie Stuart Martin this year, and the chance for another at home is too good to miss. The 2-day event starts tomorrow. Last night was Hunter Lawn Bowls' Night of Nights, and the teenage star of Tim Twining continued to rise. Named the Hunters Most Improved. Aged just 15, the Beresfield Bowlers' year included the state triples title. Another of that winning trio, Mick Beasley, won the top honour of the night, Bowler of the Year. He'll be defending that title in Maitland City colours next season. And what a year it's been for 14-year-old Maitland High School's Stephanie Williams. Named Australia's Young Swimmer of the Year, she was one of 28 athletes awarded a blue today, but she was just pipped for the Hunter CHS Athlete of the Year by Melanie Sexton. Having just returned from the World Junior Triathlon Championships, the Maitland Grosman High student represented the state in 3 sports this year and will compete in France for triathlon next year. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
For David Allen Tarrant, the night of December 10, 2001 is one Newcastle District Court today heard he wishes he could change. The now 50-year-old from Raymond Terrace was taking 4 mates prawn fishing on his boat. However, in the moonless conditions, his vessel hit a navigation marker in the Broadwater area of the Myall Lakes. 30-year-old Graham Gallagher of Madawi was ejected from the boat and died of injuries suffered when he's believed to have struck the marker. In submissions on sentencing, Crown Prosecutor Laurie Gray argued Alan Tarrant be given a custodial sentence. He told the court there was a personal failure to keep a proper lookout, to steer a clear course, and that the vessel was travelling too fast for the conditions. But Tarrant's counsel, Bob Greenhill QC, counted his client had done the journey thousands of times, but on that night had misjudged the marker's position. Judge Ralph Coulahan convicted Alan Tarrant of culpable navigation and placed him on an 18-month good behaviour bond. In handing down sentence, Judge Ralph Coulahan said while the men had been drinking on the boat, it couldn't be included as a factor in the crash. He concluded the accident happened as a result of an error of judgment. Graham Gallagher's family accepted the sentence and believe it's what Graham would have wanted.
They're not going to gain anything. We're giving them any more, and I think it's pretty fair.
And as the peak of the boating season approaches, they hope people can gain something from their tragic loss.
Well, I hope that other people going out on boats leave the alcohol at home, be more careful.
Gary Blair, NBN News. "25-year-old Anthony Campbell of Nelson Bay made his lunchtime bid for freedom during an appearance in Newcastle local court on an assault charge. Prosecutor David Wild pursued Campbell through the CBD before taking him into custody in Wharf Road. Anthony Campbell reappeared in court this afternoon and was sentenced to 6 months jail for escaping lawful custody.
While the recently run Newcastle Mile is the premier event in hunter harness racing, Saturday night's Newcastle Cup isn't far behind. It's celebrating its 50th birthday, and the list of previous winners is impressive, no more so than American champion Ultrajet. The world record winning time it set in 1994 still stands. And while there's little chance of a repeat of the magic from that night, the standing handicap start should make for an interesting race.
The back markers are the ones to beat. Johnny Tapp, famous name in racing, has Loyal Deputy, ran second in the Newcastle Mile. It's a big chance.
While there might also be some value about the local hopes, the Les Cosklin trained Jacker Smile considered a real chance.
He loves this track, he loves these type of races, and he's a bit of a giant killer. Some big names have come up here and he's beaten them.
And the Anthony McCrohan Committee today handed over a cheque of $118,000 to the 22-year-old who sustained serious spinal injuries when he trialled for the Newcastle Knights. Builders have also donated a home. All that's needed now is land in the Curry or Maitland area for it to be built on.
I just see all these wonderful, generous people come up and just do all these things for me. It's been something that's very, very special to me.
Colin Robinson, NBN News.
Jim Lunn's story is nothing short of remarkable. Just 3 days ago, he almost drowned. He was launching his tinny at Swansea when his legs became trapped between his four-wheel drive and trailer. He began sinking into the water.
I thought I was gone. I threw every fishing glasses there. Threw them away. I said, they're no good where I'm going.
These four people helped save his life. They held him above water, called an ambulance, and as he began to sink even deeper, Wendy Blaine rushed to get a snorkel and tube to help him breathe.
As he was going under, he says, I'm done, I'm gone. And I said, no, you're not, mate. He says, yeah, let me go, I'm gone. I said, no, we're holding on and the hose is coming, because Wendy had told me she was going for one.
Jim's vehicle and trailer was eventually towed out of the water. However, by the time the grandfather was pulled out, he was unconscious, but paramedics revived him.
The next I knew, I was coming over in the ambulance to the hospital here, and they were cutting the clothes off him, and I was throwing up a lot of water.
The ordeal has helped strengthen the ties between the friends.
It's excellent. Just a good effort, by those four people, that's all.
We're not heroes. We're not going to present ourselves as heroes. We're just there. We're just, just meant to be there at the right time, and God had his angels watching over him, and that's what's happened.
Lyndall Derrick, NBN News. Cash registers have been ringing throughout Newcastle, and retailers believe shoppers have rediscovered the inner city. They say there's been a bigger spending spree than usual in the post-Christmas sales.
The weekend business through the region's been pretty positive, and the next 3 days coming into the new year we think it's going to be pretty good too. So lots of ads out there, lots of bargains, and seems to be lots of people with quite a bit of money or credit cards ready to spend.
The free bus service has been attributed to the resurgence in shoppers. The Hunter Business Chamber and the Newcastle Alliance hope it will become a permanent feature within the next year.
In most capital cities you go to, in Perth in Western Australia, they have a free bus service, moves you around. I think it'd be great for tourism, just not only for the retail trade. So let's try and push for that and see if we can get some positive outcomes.
The service will continue until the 23rd of January. Lyndall Derrig, NBN News.
It wasn't that long ago Glenn Ashby was cutting his sailing teeth on dams near his hometown of Bendigo. Since then, the 26-year-old has quickly risen to not just Australian and European champion, but #1 in the world for A-class catamaran sailing. Needless to say, racefields are getting used to seeing the back of this sailmaker's handiwork this week.
Yeah, look, it's going to be a very, very close series. I think all round there's guys from all over the country, from New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, and Victoria that are sort of fighting it out. And
so too a healthy contingent of international sailors, many of them European, who've based themselves out of the Port Stephens Yacht Club to escape winter and prepare to beat Ashby at the coming World Titles in New Zealand.
So we've been basically out of sailing for 3 months. So I also have to get back into it again, get the feel for the boat, get the focus on the tactics and everything. So it's a test for the boat and it's a training run for me as well.
Strong northeasterly winds provided a real test for the Olympic Tornado class. While of the 50-strong A-class catamaran division, just 26 finished, the only race that could be held today. Ashby's control in the heavy conditions, though, just too good, crossing first to take the overall lead, while in the Tornadoes, Andrew McPherson's crew holds top spot. The regatta continues until Sunday.
If the future of Aero Pelican is in doubt, then somebody forgot to tell its staff.
Never any suggestion that the airport was going to shut, and I've been given an assurance by the owner that there is no intention to close the airport. It's here for the long term.
Although the airline's headquarters is the subject of a rezoning debate in the Lake Macquarie City Council, it's an issue the airline's general manager believes is a private matter which will have very little impact, if any, on Aero Pelican's operation.
Essentially, the council with their draft LEP are endeavouring to rezone the land, which would, if achieved, would significantly diminish the value of this land, and simply the owner's trying to protect his asset.
And in doing so, the owner wants to sell the land to Lake Macquarie Council if it goes through with plans to rezone the area from open space to infrastructure, a move Aero Pelican claims will drastically reduce the value of the land. Both parties met last night, throwing several options on the table. However, an outcome isn't expected for some time yet. Adam McIlrick, NBN News.